Donald Trump held another one of his White House pressers where he talks to reporters. And, I had a MAGA say to me, Luke, don't you appreciate that? Don't you at least appreciate that Trump is spending a lot more time in front of reporters? He's giving a lot of opportunities for people to ask him questions. And I said, in a general sense, with presidents, I would like them to make themselves very available, right? Transparency, all of that. But the thing with Trump is, it seems every time he comes out for these, he tells more lies and confuses the world more, that maybe hiding him would actually do us a good service, strangely enough. And you'll see that throughout this segment. So let's start going through it. I will note at one point throughout the segment where Fox News drops off, didn't cover it as long as usual as he wandered his way through these different answers. First, struggling to understand the question about Ukrainian refugees, that it seems, based on a Reuters report that I'll show to you, Trump is considering revoking the temporary protected status of. If you appreciate the show, please do click the subscribe button.
TPS for the Ukrainians who live here in the U.S.
What about it?
Are you considering revoking the TPS status for the more than 200,000 Ukrainians who live here in the U.S.?
What are you saying?
The Ukrainians that are here in the U.S., they're under a TPS status.
On GPS?
TPS, temporary.
Oh, I thought you said GPS.
TPS.
Yeah.
There was some news saying that they were going to be revoked and they were going to be deported from the country. Are you considering that for the
Well, we're not looking to hurt anybody. We're certainly not looking to hurt them. And I'm looking at that, and there were some people that think that's appropriate and some people don't, and I'll be making a decision pretty soon. Okay?
What does that mean? What does that do for anyone? Why is that half of his answers? Yeah, well, I've been looking at that, and some people think we should do it, and people think that we shouldn't, and I'll make a determination, and I'm looking at it very strongly, very powerfully, very hugely, and very proudly. Okay, so you are considering taking away legal status from Ukrainians who fled Russia's invasion? After it was granted to them, Newsweek reporting the Trump administration is preparing to revoke temporary legal status for approximately 240,000 Ukrainians who fled the conflict with Russia, according to Reuters. The decision, anticipated as early as April, would mark a dramatic shift from the reception Ukrainians experienced under former President Joe Biden's administration, just adding insult to injury with his Ukraine policy. Another, I guess, more lighthearted moment, but still infuriating, with him lying about the astronauts at the space station.
I'm sure that they will see this in space. What is your message?
We love you, and we're coming up to get you, and you shouldn't have been up there so long. The most incompetent president in our history has allowed that to happen to you, but this president won't let it happen. We're going to get them.
Won't what? He won't what?
But this president won't let shit happen. We're going to get them.
Won't. It sounds like he says won't let shit happen. Interesting, because if it was so quick and easy and the plan that was being laid out by the Biden administration was so ridiculous, why didn't you just do it like this? You've been in office now for a little second, and the astronauts themselves keep asking you to stop telling that lie that Biden stranded them. There's just a very logistically sound way to get them back on some timetable. I've given you the specifics before. I don't remember off the top of my head.
Out. We're coming up to get you. I've authorized Elon. I said, can you get them out? Because, they've been left up there. I hope they like each other. But maybe they'll love each other. I don't know. But they've been left up there. Think of it. And I see the woman with the wild hair, a good solid head of hair she's got. There's no kidding. There's no games with her hair. But, and there's a danger up there too. They can have.
There's no kidding. I think he's jealous. She doesn't have to play games to make it look like her hair covers her whole head, unlike the commander-in-chief. Then he pontificates on who should be hosts on MSNBC.
And frankly, what Nicole Wallace said, I've never been a fan of hers, and she's not very talented. But I'll tell you, what she said the other day about that young man is disgraceful. She should be forced to resign. And Rachel Maddow should be forced to resign. Nobody watches her anyway. I don't know if it's not possible they pay her as much money as I hear, but certainly she's lost all credibility, both of them. But what they said.
Yeah. So his obsession with regulating, now he's getting his FCC involved, obviously, with the CBS example. He really does want to be able to decide who says what where. And he'll even threaten merger deals to make that happen. Then now we get into scary territory. Okay, all of that normal scary. This is scary. And it's him not seeming to understand the history of NATO, the present of NATO, or the future of NATO.
On Peter's question, are you going to make that policy, U.S. policy, that the U.S. wouldn't defend NATO countries that don't pay?
Well, I think it's common sense, right? If they don't pay, I'm not going to defend them. No, I'm not going to defend them. I got into a lot of heat when I said that. You said, oh, he's violating NATO. And, the biggest problem I have with NATO, I really, I know the guys very well. They're friends of mine. But if the United States was in trouble and we called them, we said, we got a problem, France. We got a problem, a couple of others I won't mention.
Yeah. What do you think the percentage chance is that he couldn't think of another European country? Well, how likely is it that he couldn't think of another country in NATO in that moment?
Called them. We said, we got a problem, France. We got a problem, a couple of others I won't mention.
No, you don't have to give a couple other. Give one more. Give one more.
A couple of others I won't mention. Do you think they're going to come and protect us? They're supposed to. I'm not so sure. So with Japan, we have a deal, which is a very interesting one. And I love Japan. We have a great relationship with Japan, but we have an interesting deal with Japan that we have to protect them.
Okay, so let me address the NATO point. He says to justify his own flirting with violating our commitment to NATO, that again has contributed to a level of global stability and a strength of a military defense alliance like we've never seen in human history. And he's saying it'd be fine if we violated our dedication to that, because he doesn't understand the funding mechanisms of NATO or the difference between investing in your own national defense versus funding the organization of NATO. But all of that's been discussed many times before. But then he also doesn't know the history of NATO. He says if someone attacked us, it's not like those countries would come to our defense. They literally did the one time Article 5 was invoked. The only time that any countries have had to come to the defense of anyone, it's been for the United States after 9/11. Brian Krasenstein had a post on this talking about the clip that you just watched, and he listed off countries that exercise Article 5 to help us, and then goes through there. Trump can read off these if he needs more ideas of countries next time to list that are in NATO. And thousands of personnel were sent to Afghanistan on our behalf from our allies. So the one time that anyone had to be defended, it was us. And our allies did follow through on it. They did fulfill that obligation. And it's scary that he is so thoughtless and uneducated on history to not get that when he makes that argument. Then, Trump's latest tariff twist, a break for Mexico and Canada. We've been talking about this throughout the day as we're doing segments. It keeps changing, and apparently now we're paused for a month on most tariffs just to make it as confusing as possible for all businesses so that they can't possibly plan for the future or hire people or have any economic stability in their entire running of the business. And Trump did not clear things up for us during this little presser.
The first administration, and I think we'll do even better now. But this is something that we have to do. There'll always be a little short-term interruption. I don't think it's going to be big, but the countries and companies that have been ripping us aren't particularly happy with what I'm doing. But the United States will be very happy. And, our farmers are going to be very happy. And again, there'll be disruption. But in the end, I said it before with China, we signed an unbelievable deal with China, $50 billion in purchases, and we're doing great.
It's just desperately trying to hypnotize us. You're going to be happy. Farmers, you're going to love it. You're going to have a great time. It's going to have fun. It's going to be good. You're going to love it. It's going to be great. It's going to be fun. I mean, a little disruption. I mean, it'll be painful. You'll hate it, but you'll love it. I mean, it'll be terrible for your business. You'll hate it, but you'll love it. You know what I mean? Because I did it. And if I do it, it's okay. So whatever. It's not going to work. People are going to feel it and they're going to react accordingly. But as of now, we don't exactly know when they're going to feel it because he is governing like a little kid who is more malicious than any kid I've ever met. All of the immaturity of a kid with all of the maliciousness of an older gentleman. Gentleman might be the wrong word. Then in his conversations with the big auto companies, he said, this is it for real. No more carve-outs after this month.
On the auto tariffs that you were talking about, I know yesterday you spoke with the big three. Did you tell them that no more exemptions were on the way, and what was the reaction?
I told them, that's it. This was a short-term deal. And they came back to me yesterday. They said, could we have some help on the tariffs because of the speed? And I said, look, I'm going to do it, but that's it. Don't come back to me after the April 2nd. I don't want to hear from you after April 2nd. We're not going to be doing it anymore. I want to help them.
What was their response?
They didn't complain. But I helped them short-term during this short-term transition. April 2nd is going to be a very big...
Isn't that so weird? I helped them. You helped them from yourself. You delayed your own policy to help them. Hey, you know another way you could help them? Canceling the policy altogether. Now, I mentioned to you that Fox News Cutaway. Let me just play that for you for proof. They could not hang on to this as long as they normally like to.
And if they can cut, it's better. And if they don't cut, then Elon will do the cutting.
So, Mr. President, is that a reflection that you think Doge and Elon Musk have been moving too quickly?
There you have President Trump answering questions moments ago in the Oval Office. Talked a lot about the hostages, meeting with them yesterday. Talked a little bit about Doge. He met with some members of Doge. And
we're just going to quickly get out of that, but obviously the president there speaking thoughtfully and coherently about many different topics. Up next, drag queens. Aaron Rupar said an unusual move. Fox News cuts away from Trump as he's taking questions from reporters. Aaron watches more of these channels than anyone, so we'll trust his word on that one. And then here you have Trump being asked about the reaction to his economic policy from the markets, and he says it's just the globalists.
Mr. President, what are you making of the market sell-off this week?
I think it's globalists that see how rich our country's going to be, and they don't like it. You know, there's a big market out there. But again, they've been ripping off this country for years, and they're going to do great. Everyone's going to do great, but we can't let this continue to happen to America. Otherwise, we're not going to have a country any longer. Thank you very much, everybody.
All right, that's the end. So the reason that the stock market has said to what Trump is doing is, and the GDP now forecast and the expectation of the job report. The reason for all of that is because the globalists are going to do really well, but they just don't know it, and they're scared of how great America's going to do. If that makes sense to you, good for you, because it doesn't make sense to me. Share your thoughts in the comments.